Ikenna sat in his car outside the hospital, gripping the DNA test results. His heartbeat was erratic, his breath short. 0%. Not the father. He clenched his teeth so hard. My whole life has been a lie. Three children. Three children. Over 10 years of marriage. And none of them were his children. His hands trembled as he pulled out his phone and scrolled through his gallery. Family vacations, birthday, anniversaries, his wife Adora smiling, his children laughing, all fake. All fake, he hissed. Ikenna thought about comforting her immediately. He imagined flipping the dining table, screaming, demanding answers. But then another thought crept in. No, this isn't something to scream about. This is something to plan for, he said. And so he went home and pretended nothing happened. The warm scent of fried plantains and egusi soup filled the air as Adora bustled around the kitchen. Humming softly, the evening sun cast a golden glow through the curtains, giving their home an inviting feeling. Ikenna sat on the couch, watching his children with admiration. His wife was everything he ever wanted: beautiful, caring, and a perfect mother. Ada, leave the food, come and eat now, he called out, patting the space beside him. She laughed, wiping her hands on a towel. Let me finish up first. You can continue eating. You know you like your food hot. Now wow, he teased. Woman wey no dey ever tire na im you be. For my husband, no, I no go ever tire. She teased him before heading back to the kitchen. Their home was filled with love. There were no fights, no suspicions. Adora was the ideal wife. Every weekend, they either took the kids to the amusement park or spent time watching movies together as a family. To outsiders, theirs was a perfect marriage. And among those outsiders was Shioma. Shioma was Adora's closest friend. She visited frequently, always praising her marriage. Ada, you are so lucky. Oh. Chioma sighed one evening as she watched Ikenna laughing with the kids. Your husband is a very good man. Adora smiled, staring at tea. Chioma, stop it. Your husband is also a good man. Chioma's smile fluttered. You won't understand, she muttered, taking a sip. Her husband, Chuka, was a drunkard. A bitter, angry man. He had no time for her, no love to give to her. Each time she visited Adora, she was reminded of everything she lacked. Does he even shout at you? Chioma asked. Adora laughed. He does, sometimes though, but never out of wickedness. You are lucky, oh, you are very, very lucky. You don't know what God have done for you. Is it that my husband, that drunkard, always coming back every night with no money in his pocket? I will be the one to cook. I will be the one to do all the expenses in the house. He does not contribute a dime to the house. I do everything on alone. My girl, you are very, very lucky. Oh, your husband tight oh. Meanwhile, hope you've told him. Have you tell him the truth? Chioma asked casually as they sat in the living room. Whose truth? She asked, forcing a smile. You know what I mean now. Chioma, stop reminding me of this. I did what I did for my marriage. Ikenna doesn't need to know. I did it for my marriage. Chioma smirked, swinging the wine in her glass. If you say so, I just think it's right for you to tell him. You know, at least tell him. You cannot be having this kind of perfect marriage and you'll be hiding something from your husband. If it's meant to be, it will be. This is just my own humble. Chioma, you don't understand. Ikenna is a good man. He's a very good man. But this would destroy him. I would rather die than see him broken. I can't. You've done so much for him, she murmured. Adora smiled. That love, isn't it? Chioma hesitated. Love wanting tea, she said. Why Adora had a perfect husband, Chioma was married to a drunk, a man who stumbled home reeking of cheap beer, cursing her, calling her useless, a man who had never touched her gently or said I love you in years. Chioma went home that evening. She lay awake for hours. Her mind spun with possibilities. So this perfect marriage was built on a lie. Adora don't want to tell Ikenna the truth. Ikenna is raising another man's children. And she had the audacity to act like her life was flawless. The next morning, she sat in front of her laptop and began typing. As Ikenna walked home that day, he didn't comfort Adora. Instead, he pretended nothing was wrong. He came home that evening and kissed her like always. He tucked his children in like always, laughed at their jokes, but inside him, a monster was growing. At first, he thought of poisoning her. Then, he imagined setting up a fatal accident. But all of this will be too quick. She didn't deserve a painless end. She deserved a painful end, he thought to himself. Adora stood by the bedroom door, watching Ikenna as he sat on the bed, scrolling through his phone. Something was different about him. For the past few weeks, his usual affectionate nature had faded into coldness. He no longer greeted her with his usual warmth. No more long hugs, no more playful kisses. At first, she thought he was just stressed from work. Ikenna, what's wrong? She asked softly. Sitting beside him, nothing, he replied, still staring at his phone. But you've been acting different. You've been acting so distant. He barely looked up at her. You are imagining things, Ada, he said, standing up. I'm going to bed. Good night. This wasn't her Ikenna. Her husband has never been this cold. This passed, and Ikenna's behavior only worsened. He stopped eating her food. He stopped laughing with her and the kids. At night, he barely spoke more than a few words. Adora became restless. One evening, she sat on her bed, watching him as he scrolled through his phone yet again. Ikenna, please talk to me, she pleaded. He sighed, rubbing his temple. Ada, I said nothing is wrong. No, something is wrong. She insisted. Did I do something? Did I offend you? He stood up. Ada, can you just stop? His voice sharp. Ada flinched. Ikenna had never raised his voice at her. Tears flowed from her eyes as she whispered, You don't love me anymore, do you? He turned away, his fist clenched. I am tired, he muttered before walking out of the room. Ada burst into silent tears. She needed answers, and there was only one person she could talk to, her best friend. That night, Adora sat in the living room and dialed Chioma's number. Babe, how far? Chioma's voice was cheerful, but Adora wasn't in the mood for pleasantries. Chioma, something is wrong with Ikenna. Chioma paused. What do you mean? He has changed. He doesn't talk to me, nor eat my food. He don't even touch me anymore. Chioma bit her lips, pretending to care. Maybe he's just stressed. Have you tried talking to him? Chioma, this is not stress. Adora insisted. He's acting like he hates me. Chioma smiled to herself. This was exactly what she wanted. Maybe he's just going through something. Chioma said sweetly. Give him some time, my dear. Everything will be fine. But Adora wasn't convinced. Are you sure? She asked, her voice small. Of course, Chioma lied. Ikenna loves you so much. You guys are the envy of all marriages. Is it not your Ikenna again? Just be patient. It will come around. They ended the call, but Adora's heart was still heavy. As days passed, something strange began happening. Adora started feeling weak. Her body felt drained. Her appetite disappeared. She could barely keep food down. And then the weight loss began. At first, she didn't think much of it. Maybe I'm just stressed, she told herself. But then, her clothes started hanging loosely on her body. Her reflection in the mirror shocked her. Her cheek had sunk in. Her once glowing skin had lost its color. Even the kids began noticing. Mommy, why are you getting smaller? Her youngest son asked one evening. Adora forced a smile. Mommy is fine, darling. But deep down, she knew something was terribly wrong with her. She had never been this sick before. One evening, as she sat on the couch Clutching her stomach in pain, Ikenna sat across from her, watching her with cold eyes. Ikenna, I think I need to see a doctor, she said weakly. He stared at her for a moment, then shook his head. No need. I will bring a doctor home, he said. And with those words, her fate was sealed. The next day, a man dressed in a white coat arrived at their home. Good evening, madam. I am Dr. Mike. Your husband told me about your condition. Adora managed a weak smile. Thank you for coming, doctor. Each day the doctor gave her medication, her condition worsened. Chioma visited again, pretending to be worried. Ada, this is not normal. Look at you. You are looking all skinny. Ah. What's the problem? Is it because of your husband? Have you been thinking? She asked, forging concern. I don't understand, Chioma whispered. Even the doctor can't figure it out. I've been receiving medication upon medication, but it seems as if nothing is working out. I'm dying. I'm dying, Chioma. I'm dying inside. Chioma squeezed her hand. You'll be fine, my dear. You'll be fine. But deep inside, she was enjoying every moment of it. Her perfect friend, her perfect life was falling apart, and she was so glad. As days passed, Hadara's sickness got worse. As she lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, she couldn't move. Her arms felt like heavy stones. Her leg refused to respond. Even her eyelid felt too heavy to lift. Her breathing was shallow and weak. Each time she tried to sit up, a sharp pain ran through her body. She had become a prisoner inside her own flesh. Ikenna sat at the edge of the bed, his face expressionless. Eat something, he said, pushing a plate of food towards her. Adora tried to speak, but her lips were too dry to form words. She wanted to tell him that she couldn't eat, that her stomach couldn't bear the sight of food. Then she felt like she was dying. But Ikenna just watched. Each time she tried to say she needed a hospital, he would shake his head. The doctor will come again tomorrow, he always said. Adora knew she wasn't getting better. She was getting worse. She was dying. And if she didn't speak now, she might never get the chance to tell him the truth, the actual truth. That night, as Ikenna lay beside her, Adora summoned all her strength. Her fingers trembled as she gripped his waist. Ikenna. Her voice was barely a whisper. He turned his head slightly. What is it? I want to tell you something, she said. His eyes darkened. Ada, don't waste your energy. Just rest. No, she gasped, tears streaming down her face. I might not get another chance to say this. Ikenna's jaw tightened. What do you mean? Adora took a shaky breath. You had an accident before we got married. Do you remember? He frowned. Of course I do. Does that have to do with anything? He asked. Ikenna, that accident left you impotent. That accident left you impotent. A long silence filled the room. What? What did you just say? His voice dangerously low. I didn't tell you this because I don't want to break you. I wanted you to be happy. Ikenna stood up immediately, his breath coming in short grabs. You are lying. You are lying, he barked. Adora shook her head weakly. No, I'm not. Her vision blurred as she continued. I knew you would never accept the truth, so I went for IVF. The children, they may not have your blood, but I carried them in my womb. They are our children, Ikenna. I did everything for you. I went to the hospital and they organized a donor for me. Our children, they may not have your blood, but I carried them in my womb. They are our children, Ikenna. I did everything for us. Her body trembled violently. I even bought medication to help with your condition. But the doctor said it's irreversible and there was nothing I could do. Rather than to take this decision, I kept it a secret because I don't want to lose you. I was wrong. I should have told you. Ikenna's hands shook uncontrollably. His heart shattered. Everything he thought he knew, everything he believed was a lie. For a long moment, he couldn't speak. He just stood there, staring at the woman he had spent weeks slowly poisoning. Ikenna, Adora called weakly. He turned, his face unreadable. Then, in a slow, chilling voice, he whispered, I already knew the truth. Adora's heart stopped. What? She gasped. Ikenna turned to face her fully, his eyes dark, his expression haunted. I received an email, Ada. An email. From who? He let out a hollow laugh. I don't know. It came from an unknown sender. His mind flashed back to the moment. It had been a normal day at work. Ikenna was sitting in his office laughing with his colleague Chuka when his phone buzzed. A new email notification. He barely glanced at it. Spam! He muttered and deleted it. But something about it bothered him. The subject. 2 days later, as he sat alone in his office, he saw the email again in his trash folder. Curiously, he opened it. His blood ran cold. Your children are not yours. Your wife has been lying to you for over 10 years. Go for a DNA test if you don't believe me. For a long moment, he just stared at the screen. His hands trembled as he clicked out of the email. It's a joke, he told himself, but the words couldn't leave his mind. That night, he barely slept. The next morning, without telling Adora, he took the children for a DNA test. The results shattered his soul. None of them were his. Rage consumed him. Betrayal, pain, humiliation. For days, he thought of killing her, poison, a fatal accident, or just strangling her in her sleep. Before an idea came to him, something slow, something painful. He started adding substance to her food. She started falling sick. He made sure she never visited the hospital. And when she insisted, he brought in a fake doctor to keep the game going. Now he realized the truth. Adora had never cheated. She had never lied for selfish reasons. She had only wanted to protect him. He had been the real monster all along. Ikenna's body shook as reality hit him. He fell to his knees beside Adora's bed, gripping her fragile hand. Ada, oh my God, what have I done? Tears streamed down his face as he clutched her lifeless fingers. Please don't die. Please forgive me. But Adora was too weak to respond. Her eyes fluttered. Her lips parted slightly. I only told my best friend, Chioma, this secret. No one else know about the secret. If not for Chioma. Chioma was the only person I confided in. She sent that email. And then her body went still. A deafening silence filled the room. Ikenna let out a blood-curdling scream. His hand shook violently as he pressed his forehead against her cold skin. No, no, Ada, wake up, wake up. But she was gone. And now he had to live with the weight of his own actions. Ikenna sat on the floor, his body trembling, his heart hammering against his ribs. Ada's lifeless body lay before him, her once bright eyes now closed forever. He had thought he was avenging a betrayer, but he had been the real betrayer. The house, once filled with laughter and warmth, now felt like a tomb. The air was thick with silence, only the sound of a clock clicking on the wall. A slow realization glowed at his chest. What have I done? He needed to think. He needed to act fast. If anyone finds out, the children, the neighbors, what would become of him? A sudden knock on the door shattered his thoughts. His blood froze. Who could it be? Ikenna stood up, wiped his face and tried to steady his breath. The knock came again. Who is it? He called. It's Chioma. His heart skipped. Chioma, Adora's best friend. The same Chioma who had planted the seed of doubt in his mind. The same Chioma who had always visited Adora, always called her lucky in marriage. The same Chioma who sent that email. Something inside Ikenna snapped. He opened the door. Ikenna, are you okay? Where is Adora? For a moment, Ikenna just stared. Then slowly he stepped aside. Come in. Chioma hesitated, her eyes flickering with suspicions. Why do you look like that? She asked, stepping into the living room. Ikenna closed the door softly behind her. Adora is in the bedroom, he said, his voice calm. Is she okay? She hasn't been answering my calls all this while. I've been calling. Ikenna gave a tight smile. Why don't you go check on her? Something in his tone made Chioma's stomach twist. She turned towards the bedroom. She pushed the door open. And then she froze. Adora laid there, motionless, her face pale, her chest still. A choke grasp escaped from Chioma's lips. Adora, she screamed, running to the bedside. She shook her friend. Wake up! Wake up! But Adora didn't move. Chioma turned widely to Ikenna, horror in her eyes. Ikenna, what happened to her? Ikenna took a slow step forward, his face emotionless. Why don't you tell me, Chioma? Why didn't you tell me the truth, Chioma? Chioma breath caught. What are you talking about? Ikenna lips curled slightly. You sent that email, didn't you? Her eyes widened. What? No, I don't know what you are saying. Which email? Ikenna let out a slow, chilling laugh. Adora trusted you. She told you everything. And you sold her out. Not even that you sold her out. Truthfully, you omitted some parts to suit your selfish desires. Chioma News weakened. I was only trying to help, she stammered. Help, help. Ikenna's voice was sharp like a knife. You were jealous, Chioma. You hated seeing Adora happy because your own husband was a drunk and a failure. You couldn't stand it, could you? Chioma hands trembled. I swear, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. But Ikenna wasn't listening. His mind burned with rage. Because of you, Chioma, I destroyed my own wife, my own family. Chioma staggered back. Ikenna, please. But before she could finish her sentence, his hands wrapped around her throat. She gasped for breath. Her eyes bulged. Ikenna, please. Ikenna, please. You are choking me. But his grip tightened. Her vision darkened. Then, a sudden banging at the door. Ikenna's hands froze. Chioma fell to the floor, gasping for breath. Ikenna staggered back. His heart pounded violently. How? Who called them? He whispered. Then his eyes fell on Adora's phone, still clutched in her cold hand. A faint call timer on the screen. She had been on the phone call with the policeman this whole time. She had called the police. Even in her weakest moments, she had fought back. A broken, bitter laugh escaped Ikenna's lips. Ada, you outsmarted me, he whispered. The door burst open. Armed officers rushed in. On the ground now, Ikenna didn't resist. He just stood there, staring at his dead wife. And for the first time, he realized she had won. Thank you, my wonderful family, for watching this story. The moral lessons from this story is 1. Assumptions can destroy lives. Ikenna assumed his wife betrayed him without seeking the full truth. In the end, this misguided his revenge to a tragedy he could never undo. 2. Jealousy is a poison. 3. Secrets always find their way out. Adora hid the truth to protect Ikenna's ego, but the secret eventually surfaced in the worst way. 4. Revenge can backfire. Trust is fragile. 7. Evil actions have consequences. Ikenna took justice in his own hands, but karma found him in the end. 8. Be careful who you confide in. 9. A good heart can be misunderstood. 10. Think before you act. Rash decisions often leads to regret. This story teaches about patience, communication, and wisdom.